Good evening, and I hope you are all doing great these days with your families. Sun is out, and we are all enjoying this small spring. As we know that 2022 Ontario general election will be held on June the 2nd, which is very, very close, 19 days from today, to elect member of the provincial parliament to serve in the 43rd Parliament of Ontario. This is one of the most important elections for Ontarians because of many issues on the table: education, healthcare, Northern Ontario, jobs, economy, etc. Canar TV, the Arab Voice from Canada, sent equally invitation for liberal, conservatives, and NDP candidates to interview them and introduce them to our audience. Let's welcome Sameera Ali, the Liberal candidate for Milton, Ontario. She is one of the most active community members. She is a very close friend, and I wish her all the best. Let's welcome Sameera Ali. Hi, Sameera.
Hello, how are you, Brother Jamal? I'm very, very happy to be here. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you. So, I already dig a lot about Samira. I have her in my Facebook. I know how she's active, but not a lot of people know Samira. Can you introduce yourself to the audience? Are you married? Do you have kids? Where do you live? Where are you from?
Absolutely. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about myself. My name is Sameera Ali, and I'm the Ontario Liberal Party candidate for Milton. I've been serving the town of Milton as a local councillor for 4 years now, and I'm a mom of four children. My eldest is 18, and my youngest is 8. We've been living in Milton for almost a decade now. My husband and I moved here because we felt this was a beautiful community for younger families with growing kids, and the education and the schooling, everything was just ideal here when we moved here. And so we are very proud Miltonians. It is an honor for me to serve Milton as a counselor. I also sit on a lot of committees, boards: Milton Youth Task Force, Milton Library Board, Milton Community Fund Advisory Board. But I'm also a long time volunteer in Milton, which means I am the PR officer for our Royal Canadian Legion Branch 136 for 7 years. And I'm also the community director for Milton Halal Food Bank. And so my job is to secure grants and fundings for the Halal Food Bank. And I've been able to do so through various levels of government. So far, we've been able to collect $100,000 worth of fundings and grants. Really proud to do that work because I know it helps families who are struggling to put food on their table. Unfortunately, it's been the case under the Doug Ford government. Life has become very unaffordable for all of us.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, well, that is a little bit about me. Now,
Great.
I'm wondering if you have any other questions specifically about my work in the community.
We would like to know more if you have, because people, when they elect their member of parliament, they want somebody active, not somebody who sleeps in his office or in his bed. So who already put his footprint in the community, not because he wanted to be elected, but because he's an active member. And Samira, I know you very well from your Facebook. I never met you, but when you look into Samira's Facebook 5 years, 4 years ago, you will see that.
Thank you so much. Yes. So, having been working in the community as a volunteer, I've had the distinct opportunity to make new friends, learn about the community's issues. And I know a lot of people reach out to me and say, Samira, I want to run for something. I want to be into politics. How should I do it? And I say, get involved, give back. When you are attached to the grassroots and you're working in your community, volunteering, you get to understand, your ear is on the ground, and you know what the local issues are. So back in 2017, when I was volunteering in the community, we had a big issue in my neighborhood where the previous council had approved a medical office building in the middle of a park. And so my neighbors and I, we got together, we formed a group, and then I became an active part of that group to kind of fight against that growth. And then when the municipal elections opened up, I put my name on the ballot and I said, I'm going to fight to stop this in the middle of a park. And so I'm glad to say, since being elected for 4 years, That medical office building has been stopped. It's not there in the middle of the park. And there's many issues that were really relevant when I was running. There were no parks in the area. Ever since I become a counselor, we have actually added around 6 parks. And
Wow.
then speeding is an issue. So I brought forward a motion to council to introduce the slow down signs, the yellow signs you see all over Milton. It was because of my motion that I brought to council. And we're also doing a pilot project just in the ward I represent to reduce the speed limits from 50 km/h to 30, because I know speeding is an issue. So I'm very glad to say that the promises I made to run in 2018 have been kept. And now I'm going to take the same passion, dedication, and the result oriented work ethic to Queen's Park, should I have the honor to be the MPP for Milton, because I truly believe you need a local leader. We have a
Agree.
big issue in Milton, which is the CN intermodal. It is coming to Milton. It has been approved by the federal government with some restrictions, and now it's in the Ontario court. And so it is more important now to have a local leader who can fight for you at the provincial level against that destructive CN intermodal.
Great, great. So introduce us to your riding, and as I know that some ridings they have specific needs or specific uh, issues. I would say, can you tell me about this riding in general and about the Arab and Muslim and minorities in Milton in particular?
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. If you want to look at Canada, what Canada looks like in a little small sample, come to Milton. We are a wonderfully multicultural community. We have our north of Milton, which is the old Milton, and we have the south of Milton, which is the new Milton. So, south of Derry is all of the new Milton areas. And we have a lot of diversity here. There's a lot of people who look like me, people from diverse backgrounds, immigrants who have younger kids and are highly educated, is what makes up all of the new areas of Milton. We are growing. Actually, we're the fastest growing municipality in Milton. And our average age in Milton is 36 years old, believe it or not. We are a very young community.
Wow,
And an average around 80% of our population is highly educated, which means university degrees. And so for a community like this, you need representation that reflects the community that lives there. We have a lot of young kids here. We have younger families here. We have highly educated individuals here. So the local issues are, of course, getting more jobs in here because people now want to work and live close to where they work. And if they're able to go downtown, they should be able to have some affordable transit. And that is something I'm really proud to share with you, is that the Ontario Liberal Party is proposing something called the Bucka Ride, where we're going to slash all transit fares to $1 only. So for
okay,
someone, for example, someone from Milton wants to go to Union Station, right now it costs around $13. It's only going to cost you $1. So it's going to be a saving of almost $12 for you per ride. And so I think that's a great, great idea, because right now the biggest issue, any riding, I mean, I know you're going to have more guests and more liberal candidates joining you. I can tell you they are going to say number one issue at the doors is affordability.
agree.
People are struggling to put food on the table. They have to choose sometimes between their rent or their food. And I don't think that's okay. And I want to change that.
Sure. So let's talk about some policies or some issues that are very important for Ontarian. As you know, after the pandemic and COVID-19, we understood how weak was our healthcare system.
Absolutely.
It's one of the issues that was there always. We always talked about it, but we never felt it as what after what happened with COVID. So, what do you think? How you gonna challenge the current system, and how you gonna work with the liberal parties to improve our healthcare system?
Thank you so much. Now, one of the things that we have noticed after the pandemic or during the pandemic is that our frontline workers have been there for us from day one. right? That includes doctors, that includes nurses. And so I know your question is about healthcare. So that includes all of these folks and their frontline workers. Now, the sad thing is that initially Doug Ford and his government, they called frontline workers heroes, absolute rock stars, and all kinds of good words. But then they introduced Bill 124, which kind of caps their wages. It stopped their wages from increasing to a point where now I'm hearing at the doors when I meet nurses and doctors, they're talking about taking early retirement because they don't find any pride in the work they do because of the respect that's been taken away from them. Imagine being on the front lines during the pandemic, working hard. Imagine being a doctor under all of those cares that they had to put on, and and then finding out that your paycheck is not going to get any increase. As you know, your paycheck gets an increase. It's the right thing to do. And so unfortunately, that is what happened. So what we're going to do, the Ontario Liberals are going to scrap Bill 124. It is unfair, it's disrespectful. And what we're going to do is we're going to hire more doctors, so 100,000 more doctors. And we are going to also hire more nurses so that they feel respected in their job profession. And we are also going to make it easier for foreign trained doctors and nurses to be included in the system. Not right now, the process is very tedious. People have to start from scratch. We are going to open this file and do the research that is required to make sure that people are fast tracked. Sometimes, like, I have a lot of friends who are from back home, and I'm pretty sure you have friends who are doctors and nurses, and they have to come here and sometimes drive a taxi. That is not fair. We need to change that. This is an untapped resource for Ontario. If
Agree.
we are able to include these foreign trade trained individuals into our workforce really fast, we're going to kind of bridge that gap we have right now, where we find that you have to wait into hospitals for hours and hours to get treatment because there's a doctor shortage or there's a nurse shortage. So those are some of the things that we are planning to do. But we do have our fully costed detailed platform on our website, ontarioliberal.ca/platform. I invite the audience to go take a look at it. I can promise you, you will love it. You will find something that you can support. You will find something that will be beneficial to you and help you make a decision in the favor of your favorite liberal candidate in your riding.
I encourage everybody to go and check it. But the only things, I'm sorry, but I hope that if the liberal government become in power, to fullify all these things, because the previous government promised us a lot of things and we didn't see them. Sadly,
Yeah.
we were promised lower gas prices, lower electricity prices, lower blah blah blah. And anyway,
I know, and
my
one of the things I want to point out, you were saying about promises. One of the most famous gimmicky thing that Doug Ford came up with was buck a beer. And I know that I don't drink, and I know you don't drink, and I know our audience doesn't drink. But I can tell you that through research, they found out that the cheapest beer right now in Ontario is $1.40. So he was not even able to keep that promise of making beer for a dollar. So let's forget about any other promises.
agree.
But hey, listen, no one is perfect. Okay. I don't claim to be perfect. Our party doesn't claim to be perfect. The change comes, and positive change comes when you realize your mistakes, you learn from them, and then you do better. And that is what the new Ontario Liberal Party is trying to do. We did make mistakes in the past, but we have a new leader. 99% of our candidates are new candidates. We have a wonderful platform. Now, one thing I want you to know is that we did 2 years of consultations to come up with this platform. We had a process called Take the Mic, and through that process, we had nonstop hundreds and hundreds of meetings, stakeholder meetings, workshops with lots of community members to understand, what were the mistakes we made so we can learn from them and earn the confidence of progressive voters in Milton. And I can tell you, I've been knocking doors since October, and we have earned that confidence back. And inshallah, June 2nd, you will see some pleasant
Sure.
surprises.
My second question is about education. As a parent, and you are too, I know that you also suffered and you saw your kids suffering physically and psychologically
Yes.
from online encompass, online face to face, online not ready, no class today, couldn't get into Zoom. Today is on Google Meet. Very confusing.
Yes.
Uh, but again, it's not the only problem is to go
Yeah.
online or not. Number of students in class, quality of classrooms, quality of buildings, all these things. What do you think? How you're gonna work with your party to solve this problem?
Thank you
As
so
you
much
know,
for this.
this is
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah.
We're speaking about the future of this country, our
Yeah.
children.
Yeah, you know what? I always say that if there's someone who's going to save us, it's our children. And so we really need to look at education not as an expense, but as an investment in our community, okay? Which means fixing schools when they need to be fixed. And fixing schools actually is not an economic issue. It's an environmental issue. If your school is not upgraded, it will lose heat and you need to generate more power to keep it warm or keep it cold because the windows are leaking air. So a lot of the fixing of schools involves environmental issues as well. And so we will fix schools. So Duckford government is proposing to build a destructive highway called 413, which is just north of Milton. So it doesn't even touch Milton. So Milton has no benefit from this highway. And this highway is going to not only cost $10 billion, it's going to be built in 10 years. A lot of people don't understand that. They think the highway is going to save them time. It's only going to save them 30 seconds at best, and it's going to be built in 10 years. So I don't understand why is the Duckford government trying to show 413 as the solution to all the problems when it's going to be built in 10 years. I mean, do you and I know what's going to happen in 10 years? We don't. But what really is happening is that education is hurting. Like you said, our kids are hurting. Duckford, I understand. Nobody had a manual for the pandemic, right? The first year was tough, and any government in that position would have struggled. I understand. But when you repeat the same mistakes again and again, that tells you that the government is not fit for governance and it needs to change. So the Ontario Liberals, we will hire more teachers, we will hire more ECEs, and also provide mental health supports to students. And it will be a major focus for the Ontario Liberals. We will use all of that money that Duckford plans to use for 413, $10 billion. We will put it back into education to build new schools and to also repair old schools. We will also look at a model where we can use community centers, community buildings and facilities as schools, and then vice versa, use schools as community centers. So in the evenings when the schools are empty, perhaps communities can hold their events there, make use of facilities that are already there to provide better opportunities for residents, because whatever level of government you are in, we have to work together to provide what the community needs. Now, a lot of local groups in Milton come to me and say, Sameera, we have nowhere to have an event because all the facilities are town owned facilities and they're already booked. The demand is high, but the supply is low. So I always think about how about we can use these schools.
Why not?
They're big parking lots, they're empty at night. Why can't I, for example, hold a nice little Eid party there, right? Or somebody can hold a nice Christmas party there. So these are the kind of innovative ideas we have come up with in our platform, which is in great detail, and many more solutions. For example, we are offering an optional grade 13. So what I heard from a lot of my friends is that their kids before the pandemic were A graders, A plus graders, but because of online learning, their grades drop down to C or D, and those kids cannot get into good universities now. And so we are giving them an option of an optional grade 13. They can take another extra gap year where they can take another grade 13 to improve their grade so they can go into a good university. We are offering that after years and years, months and months of consultation with parents, with teachers, and we heard it loud and clear that they needed that option. So we are offering that option.
I think, yeah, can you hear me? There's a freeze at Samira as she was speaking about the 13 grade. Uh, when Samira come back, I will ask her more about. Yes, Samira, we are with
Yes,
you.
sorry.
You were speaking about the 13 grades.
Yes. So those are some of the few things that I mentioned about education. We have many, many more because it's a very, very detailed issue. It's a detailed topic. And so I invite
And it's
everybody
very
again.
important.
Yes,
It's
and
very
very important. And this is the reason I put my name on the ballot. I was frustrated with the Duckford government taking our university funding away in 2018, and they re announced it just last year. But in that 1 year, there has nothing happened on that ground. You can drive around there. I invite Miltonians to go to Tremaine, where the location is, and there's nothing there. It's just an empty field with just hundreds of announcements just announcing it. And I would like to see action. I would like to see the money come in. I would like to see the construction starting in. And so that is why I put my name on the ballot. I think we need to do a major overhaul in education.
great.
We need to fix the funding formula, because of which you will see there are communities building up in Milton, but there are no schools, or they're delayed and the fundings are delayed.
Yeah, we can see that everywhere in Ontario. I think in
Yeah.
Ottawa the same. So let's speak about the economy. The economy is recovering now. I know not only Canada is suffering from difficulties and inflation and
Yeah.
cost of living, but we are one of supposed to be the G7 countries. We're supposed to be recovering faster. However, we can see that in every day going to a supermarket and just shop for a small dinner, you will understand the difference from yesterday and today.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
what do you think? How we can recover the economy? How we can go back to a normal life?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, like I said, when I knock doors, the number one issue is affordability. People are telling me that the groceries are more expensive, gas is super high. Just 2 days ago, everybody in Milton got a notice from Milton Hydro saying that their energy prices are going up too. This was one of the promises that Doug Ford made. He said electricity going to be cheaper, but here we are, it's going actually higher. And so what I have to say is that we are working hard at the Ontario Liberal Party is working hard to provide some pocketbook relief, immediate relief, because we are promising to do it in 100 days after being elected. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is Bucka Ride. I mentioned it before. So any ride out of Milton to downtown Toronto will cost you just $1 as opposed to $13 right now. And we're also taking the provincial tax away from cooked meals, which includes restaurant menu items that are $20 and under. So, for example, you go to your favorite shawarma place and you order shawarma. You won't have to pay any provincial tax on it. So, 8% tax will be taken away from it. It's going to make it cheaper for you to buy more food, but also it's going to bring more foot traffic into the restaurants because people will find it cheaper to go and eat out, and they will go and buy more food from their favorite restaurant. So we try to come up with solutions that gives more money back into moms and dads pockets, so they can provide better lunches for their kids, they can provide better groceries for their kids, because I have 4 kids in home, and honestly at this point, I'm unable to buy the regular snacks that I'm giving my kids, so I'm choosing to find better, cheaper options, because it's hard with 4 kids to find those options on a regular basis, because everything, like, if something was $4, it's now $8. It's doubled in price, and I hear that at the doors a lot. And so that's what we're planning to do. We're planning to give immediate pocketbook relief to Ontario families.
The second next question is housing. I know it's a very confusing question, and it's very hard to answer because there are the federal, the provincial, and the municipal, and the private sector, and the public, and uh, but housing is one of the most asked questions these days,
Yeah.
especially for young people. Every parent now thinks about how my son gonna buy a house, or is it possible even to think about it? So do you think the provincial government, I mean the liberal, if they became in power, uh, can do some changes in the market, especially in the GTA areas? It's the hottest.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for this question. It's a very relevant question, especially for, a community like Milton. We have a situation where people who grew up in Milton are unable to find housing in Milton. So they're moving out of Milton, going to Paris, Ontario, or many other Niagara on the Lake areas because it's unaffordable. Absolutely unaffordable. And this also includes renting, by the way. The rents have gone sky high. And so, what the Ontario Liberals are proposing is that we are going to cap rental increases so that people are able to stay in homes that they've been living in. And we're also going to provide a rent to own opportunity for all renters, not just condos. So, we're going to facilitate a process after consultation where renters can actually buy the property they live in. We're going to make it easier for them to do that and take the red tape away from that. We're going to create, now listen, the housing issue is actually a supply and demand issue. There's lots of demand, there is not enough supply. So we are going to create 1.5 million new homes. We're going to work with municipalities to make zoning processes easier. One of the things that's been missing in construction around Ontario, especially in locations like Milton, and I speak from council experience, is that we are missing something called the mid-size housing. Stacked townhouses, duplexes. We are
And
missing the
triplexes.
missing middle. So we will work with municipalities to see how we can densify already built out locations, built out subdivisions to add the missing middle in there, which I think and I truly believe as a municipal leader that we should have walkable communities. And the best way to do that is to have densities around commercial areas, around transit areas. And I think that is the right solution, that it also stops us building on the green belt, which is something Duckford government is doing with the 413. He plans to pave over the green belt, the wetlands and the floodplains. He wants to do that just to build his 413 and to support his developer friends.
And for the demand, I agree with you. Ontario is one of the biggest provinces and one of the most provinces receiving newcomers and refugees. And by, I think, with the promise of the government, the federal government, we will have more than 400,000 newcomers from immigration and refugees in the next year. And for the next 3 years, 1.2 million. So this is a huge number. I think Ontario will have a big chunk of them. So it's very important to be ready. Okay, one of the questions as a woman of color and uh, systemic racism, hate crimes, it's happening. It's there. We already seen many cases. Attempt to attack worship places,
Yeah.
people just because they wear something beautiful, colorful, but it's representing their culture, like what happened in London, Ontario. Do you think dealing with hate crimes is one of the most important subjects you want to tackle in Queen Parks?
Absolutely. As a Muslim woman of color, I can tell you it's one of the most important issues for me. And I have done a lot of work on this in my role as a counselor. So I did bring forward a motion to council against the Bill 21, which is the Quebec bill, which is the hijab ban bill. And it was approved on council unanimously. And we just wanted to send a clear message to Quebec that this is not okay. Someone, for them to say that someone cannot be a teacher because she wears a hijab, it's ridiculous. And I had a problem with that. So I'm really proud to share that with you today. But yes, 100%. One of the first things I plan to do, should I have the honor to be the MPP for Milton, is to support the Our London Families Act, which was put forward by the NDP at Queen's Park. But unfortunately, because the PC MPPs were in majority, they did not support it and it failed, which is such a shame. It makes me really sad for myself and my children, and my mother as well, who wears the hijab, that there is a party here that does not support inclusion and diversity, and that does not support Muslim women being allowed to wear their hijab without feeling scared. You are so right. Our mosques are sometimes, places where we feel scared to go now. That should not be the case. I have two boys, and I send them for my Jummah prayers and Jummah Salah. And there are days when, something bad happens. I'm worried about them.
Good.
After the London family attack, you and I both know that we were scared to go out to even walk. And my mom was visiting me back then, and I said to her, just don't go out for a walk. She wears the hijab, mashallah, she wears the abaya. And I said, don't go out to walk. If you go out to walk, just wear something different, because we were so scared. And this is not the Canada uh, we should be living in. This is not the Canada certainly I moved to. I don't want it to turn into what it was not. For my children, especially for your children, for our children. And so, yes, I'm very passionate about, and the Ontario Liberals will actually appoint a minister who will deal with all of this. We don't have that so far under the Duckford government, but we plan to appoint a proper ministry that will deal with racism issues, and we will support the our London Family Act. If anybody does something good, we should appreciate it, and it was put forward by the NDP. So I really want to thank them for putting this forward as a Muslim woman, because it is important for our community.
Samira, if you get the enough votes and get elected as a member of provincial parliament for Milton, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
What is you're supposed to, I think, represent a bill or a motion, or what do you think? I know it's too early, but
Yes.
what do you think your motion or your bill will be?
Listen, whatever I do, I want to do it in a way where it makes a big impact and it's an important issue. I'm really passionate about racism, like you just said, and anti racism work, but I'm also very, very passionate about human trafficking, and sexual violations. And so I will definitely be looking at something like that. I will also be looking at getting funding for Milton's education village, which is, I think, a key turning point in Milton's growth strategy. Once we have a university and we have all day go service, there is nothing stopping Milton from being one of the best economic hubs of Ontario. We will have growth, we will have people building offices here, because finally we will have all day go service that their employees can use to get to work, and we will have students coming into our education village. I will also work very hard to stop the CN intermodal, which is in the Ontario court right now. And I will be a strong fighter to fight against it, because it does not belong to Milton. It is going to change our environment, our traffic. It's going to be just horrible for Milton. It is at the wrong spot. Milton is a transit loving community. That is true. But the CN intermodal is in the wrong location. It is right next to residential areas, and that is not how we planned our community. And so these are the few key things that I'm passionate about. I'm really focused on winning this election currently, and so I've been knocking 7 hours doors today, and I plan to do the same tomorrow and every single day until election time. I have my head down. I'm really focused on my finish line, and once I'm on the other side, perhaps I can come back on your show, and then we can talk more about what my first motion is going to be. And maybe perhaps you can give me some ideas too.
You are most welcome. We sure. This is our job actually, to help our elected members to put the right bills and the right motions to vote. So, my final questions: what's your message to Ontarians who listen to us today, and specifically for those in your riding to elect you?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to thank you for inviting me, for letting me share my story, my journey, and my passion to serve my community. I just want to say to all of the people watching me today to follow me on social media, and thank you so much for liking me, and Follow our platform on OntarioLiberal.ca. But most importantly, if you have liked what I have said and you have decided to support me, please go out and vote. Advanced polling starts May 19th to May 29th. And in Milton, these are the three locations where you can go out and vote during advanced polling. Number one, the Milton Mall. Number two, the John Tonelli Sports Center. And number three, the BT Branch Milton Public Library. There's a number four as well. It's the Nasagaweya Milton Tennis Club. So all of these four locations, just take your ID with you or your voter card. Go and vote early, avoid lineups, and I will be truly honored if you can vote for me. Thank you so much.
I just shared with everybody on the screen the website of Sameera Ali, the candidate of Milton. I hope you can visit this website and read more about her. As we know that we have this great honor to be part of elections in Canada. So I wish everybody who can hear us to encourage his family, to encourage his friend to go and vote, especially in the early votings. You don't want to wait maybe half an hour on the June 2nd, but you can go on 19th or 20th and vote for 5-10 minutes. That's all. But
Yeah,
you can put your voice on the screen. And I would like to remind everybody, in the last election, we had a case here in Ottawa that one member of parliament won with one vote difference. So that
wow.
vote made the difference. So please don't underestimate your voice. Don't underestimate your 5 minutes that can make a difference in changing the life of yourself and your family and your future. So I encourage you to go.
Thank
Also,
you.
I would like to encourage everybody to go and help our candidates, Sameera Ali in particular today, to volunteer with her. There is 19 days. She still needs volunteers, riding them to helping, putting signs, calling people, maybe on the election days, ride people in need, old people from home to election polls. So please be a positive person as much as possible, because when Samira there or our candidate is there, he will listen to us, and or she, and they will understand that we did our parts, and after day they were elected, they will do their part to serve the community. Thank you, Samira, for
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those wonderful words of encouragement. You are so right. Every single vote matters. And one thing I forgot to mention to your audience is that I grew up in the Middle East actually as a little girl. And I then moved to Pakistan to get my master's degree. But I grew up in Oman, Salalah.
wow.
And so أنا أعرف أتكلم العربية بس شوي شوي.
So you are quadlingual, or
I can speak Arabic and I speak French and I speak Urdu and English and Hindi
oh,
at very good intermediate levels. But then I also understand Punjabi and many other regional languages as well.
which is really very important.
Yeah.
I think in such a riding where you have people from different backgrounds and different ethnic groups and languages. So Samira, I wish you really all the best. I
Thank you.
know 19 days will be the hardest for you and for your family, but I hope your kids will understand these are the days where their mom working hard not only for herself but for all Ontarians. So I wish you all the best, and hope we're gonna see you on Queens Park.
Thank you so much for those kind words. Keep me in your prayers. And yes, I do need volunteers. We need people to knock doors, put signs out, and make calls. And of course, pull out the vote during elections. So check out my website. All of those options are there. You can sign up to be a volunteer. And of course, we need donations always. So thank you for your support, continued support. And you're right. I really want to work hard for my community. I really want to be their MPP. And with your support, I will get there.
Thank you very much. I was Jamal Al Sharif from Kanar TV, the Arab voice from Canada. Hope to see you next episode tomorrow. at 9:30 p.m. And with other candidates for Ontario election. See you. Goodbye.
Masalama.
Wassalam.